Yo, yo. So I was thinking about how to do this. And I was thinking about writing a song. I wanted to do another image. And at one point I came to the realization that what I really want to do is just stand here and talk. At the moment. Because what I really want to do is stand, because when I sit, I start getting tired. And that is kind of a predicament, because sitting sometimes seems like the easy solution simply because your legs are too weak to hold your own weight. Because you are so used to sitting all the time that standing to you is a real hindrance when you want to stand. So I've been incorporating standing into my daily practice. And you can literally see that as a spiritual practice where you train your body and mind to be in a space and simply stand. And that is a challenge, because when you stand for hours on time, you will realize that your body is sort of weak. You will realize that your body is really weak. And you will also realize that there are foods that have the potential to make you heavy, and that there are foods that have the potential to keep you standing. And that sometimes you make a choice for a food that makes you heavy simply because you don't want to take responsibility for how you feel. Because I was just sitting down on the ground and I was trying to write something, and I started to get really nauseous. And I realized that sitting and writing isn't really it at the moment. What I want to do is stand. But at the moment, what I cannot do is stand and write. And why is that? Because my standing desk is not here yet. Well, maybe tomorrow it will be. It depends a little bit on the weather. Because when it's raining, I don't want to carry my desk because I don't want to ruin it by having it get wet. So it's also a bit like, okay, you have to take care of your things, and you also have to take care of your body. So I'm conscious of the fact that if I want to carry my desk from my parents' home to my new apartment, that I need a dry day, at least somewhat dry, right? Not like full-on rain and blizzard or something. And so I have to be a little bit patient. Now, if it comes to my body, I don't have such an excuse. Because my body doesn't care if it gets wet or not. But my body does care if it sits around a lot and is lazy. And I haven't really done this a lot, standing here and just talking and just seeing where it gets me. But right now I'm also warming up to it again. Because I really enjoy making sounds and just starting with one, and just see where that's gonna get me. And what I also really enjoy is just taking sounds from a recording and then using some of the sounds and just making a song out of it. And I really enjoy that. And it doesn't have to be a really songish sound or a songish song, but it can be simply something that is song-like. That makes no sense. But whatever music is to people is really weird and very toxic. It's like people singing about sexy and drinking and hangovers and everybody cheers to it. Like, what is there to cheer about when you just got drunk and vomited because you were so drunk, and then you just laugh about it? Like, why don't you care about this? It's a very weird thing in this society that getting drunk is something to laugh about, while it's actually something very sad. You know, why do you feel like you have to do this? It's like very strange, isn't it? And so the purpose of me standing is that I don't want to use substances anymore that bring me to a kind of a delirium. And one of the substances that has been told to me that I shouldn't eat is corn. And that's to me also a bit of a problem because a part of me likes corn. But I also know it's genetically modified, it's far from being natural. And the reason that they genetically modify foods is, for one thing, that it will grow bigger, grow faster, and that it will withstand the large amount of pesticides that's being used on it. So that they can just kill everything in the area and make sure that the crop still grows and doesn't die with it. Now, if you increase the resistance of a plant to toxic materials, that also means that these toxic materials are growing into the plant. And sure, when I go and I say, oh, this is certified organic, there is no corn these days that's not GMO. That's just the way I see it. And one reason why I say that is because I've once watched a documentary about genetically modified seeds and the way Monsanto does it, which is one of the biggest players out there in terms of seed control and taking away the rights of farmers to plant their own crops. Not just taking away the rights, it's more like out-competing them and just flooding the market with cheap products so that other people just cannot get a footing on the market anymore because nobody wants to spend the money on good food. They want to spend money on electronics, they want to spend money on smartphones, on internet, on cars, on petrol. That's what people want to spend money on. They don't want to waste money on really good food that has been harvested by real people with their hands, with their bare hands. No, they don't want to do that. And if they do that, they still want to have it cheap. The same with milk. Like, can you explain to me how we can value 1 liter of milk with about 50 cent, like euro cent? Like, you have to imagine that a cow had to stand and sacrifice its milk for humans that just gobble it down, that actually don't need it, because milk is for children to grow and not for humans to just make like foam for their coffee, because they find that very appetizing. So the way we see food is a little bit weird. And if I see, for example, corn flakes, which are flakes made of corn, which is probably that you take corn and you grow it, then you harvest it, and then you dry it, and then you grind it to a kind of a flour, and then you mix it into a dough, and then you make some kind of flaky thing out of it, and then you probably kind of bake it, right? I assume that that's roughly how they do it, but I'm not overly certain about how they really make cornflakes. But there's a lot of like processes involved, and at the end of it you see cornflakes and you eat it and it's like nice and crunchy. And what you don't really think about anymore, that these cornflakes have a high amount of pesticides in there. And then you think, but it says it's certified or organic. But what you have to understand is that the certificate has been paid for with money. And that means that the company could just, they could just bribe them, give them more money, and then they simply get the certificate, because there's always somebody who's open to be bribed. And if somebody doesn't like to be bribed, they'll just bribe somebody else and get rid of that person. That's how a system that is based on money works. And so when you eat cornflakes or eat sweet corn that certainly tastes still very good when it's fried in fat, then you have to acknowledge the fact that this corn is full with pesticides and that this corn is literally the manifestation of exploiting the earth and destroying it with pesticides and pushing farmers out of the way. And what I wanted to say about, my mind is always, as usual, scattered, but that doesn't matter. I just cling to whatever topic shows itself and then I talk about it. And you just take what you like and you leave when you want to. And that's about all there is to it. Because the point is that I've heard, let's say, Monsanto sells seeds that have been genetically modified. These seeds have been modified in a way that they only yield crops for 1 year. That means that people have to buy them every year again. And that also means that no, what does that mean? I want to drink tea, that's what it means. You see, you can override your thinking pattern. Normally I would have said I want to drink coffee, now I said I want to drink tea. It's just one word, you exchange it, and every time in your mind comes the phrase I want to drink coffee, you just replace it with I want to drink tea. And I'm not talking about fruit tea, I'm talking about green tea, leafy green tea, and I'm talking about herbal tea such as sage. I'm talking about tea with spices such as cinnamon and coriander. That's the kind of tea I'm referring to. I don't really like rooibos tea. I don't know why. Well, I do. In a sense, I do. What is my feeling about rooibos tea? There's something bad about it. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think you have to drink everything. There's probably something hiding behind rooibos tea. And sure, any tea is probably kind of bad. Wow, this is really hot. Wow. Also really bland. Which is weird. Why is it bland? You didn't shake it enough. Because this has been sitting in there for hours. Like, literally for hours. And I had the same amount of stuff in there that I usually put in, but it just tastes like water. Plus I also just burnt my tongue. Doesn't really matter. It's just that I had to drink something. Whoa, and I feel a bit better now. Pooh. Sometimes you just have to water your mouth a little. So I'm not really sure at the moment if I never will drink coffee ever again. There may be times where I will drink it, but I think that this should be something that you do once in a while. This should be something that you do as a ceremony rather than something you do all the time. Just as sex should be done as a ceremony. and not just used for your own pleasure, but for the pleasure of you and another person. Which also means that both of you have to make sure that both of you go out of the experience satisfied. That's what I find really important. So if one of you is a little bit too selfish, it doesn't really work. Like, it has to be about you wanting to please your partner and your partner wanting to please you. And sometimes you accept pleasure, and sometimes somebody else accepts pleasure. So in a sense, you could say it's about giving and taking, but to me it's more about giving and receiving, because taking means I actively take it. I would say it's about giving and receiving. You give and you receive, but you give because you like giving, and if your partner does the same, then it works. If you give because you want to receive, you will end up being frustrated. Because if you have nothing to give and you give it because you want to have something back, you will realize that generally that won't work. So what I was saying was, after I got distracted into Rooibos tea, which is probably something you can look up, and if that sparks something in you, I invite you to dive into this topic and start making content about it. You know, this is like homework for you. If you want to make content, look into the Rooibos industry, and this is also about collaboration. So when you're listening to this and you're interested in this, you can mail me at Christopher-Reusch.com, and you can send me what you found out about Rooibos tea, and when you're interested, we can collaborate to do something. Now, how that would look, I don't really know yet, but I would probably, like, my goal is to assist people and being creative themselves. I'm doing my own thing. If Rooibos or this kind of Monsanto topic sparks an interest in you, feel free to contact me. Because I can assist people in finding out what they're good at, because often people don't know what they're good at. And I can figure that out just by chatting, having conversations, and in this way I like to help people grow. Now at the moment I'm in that very peculiar position that I don't have internet at home. So I have to go somewhere to have internet. So it's probably easiest to simply work via email. And if it's really important, we could schedule calls once in a while. And then I just know, okay, I have to be where the internet is. But on the long run, it's probably best if I just have my own internet. But that still may take some time. I'm not overly sure about this. There may be some choices that I have to make that I possibly don't like, but I can't really say that as of yet. I think I have to have my own thing. But on the other hand, is that really necessary? And on the other hand, if I'm here in this room, right, the problem I'm having now is that I really like being creative, but I also need the internet to be creative. Now, if I don't have internet, it's really hard to be creative. And then I have to walk back and forth from my parents' place and my place, and that in itself is it's very tedious. I'm willing to do that for a while, but I also acknowledge the fact that I probably step back from it, because my mind is going towards, I could ask some of my neighbors if we could share internet, but my mind says step back from it. Let it go, okay, another door will open. At the moment it's good, you're gonna walk back and forth. You have a laptop for a reason, because you can carry it, right? just make sure you don't run when you have it on your back. Alright, so the thing about Monsanto is, and that's why we should keep raising awareness about it, the thing about Monsanto is that they produce genetically modified seeds and then they sell them to farmers. And when one farmer plants these seeds, nature will spread these seeds for Monsanto. And when these seeds, that's basically what Monsanto is waiting for. So when these seeds start growing on the neighboring farm, Monsanto comes and sues these farmers for planting their crops. And the way I understood it was that they are then kind of being forced into using these plants because after a while nothing else grows there anymore. Because these things are also very, very persistent, right? They're like meant to survive in a hostile environment. And so that was just one idea I have, because I cannot do everything. I don't really like reading a lot about stuff, but if you like that, we could work together. You spend your day reading up about Monsanto and then writing down information, just putting it into a document, however long you would like it to be, and then you simply send it to me. It's probably best to restrict it to, let's say, 10 pages A4 in Times New Roman or Arial, let's say Arial, font size 12. If you can get together 5 pages on either Monsanto and corn production, or maybe the rooibos tea production, and even look into if Monsanto is connected to that, because like I said, I don't have internet at the moment. What I'm doing is I'm creating content to just speak about what my feeling tells me, and I'm basically distributing ideas to other people. So you can help me in that way by creating more content. And the way it probably would be is that you give me information and I'm creating content with that, which would mean I would take the information that you give me, I will make a story out of it, I will read it, I will use the information and then just channel it into an episode. And then I would credit you, of course, and you can build your own thing from that. And when you have an idea, you could ask me, are you interested in this? I have information on that. Do you want to use this information and do something with it? Because this comes easy to me. I can just kind of talk about things. And now I feel like I'm running out of words. And I feel like what I really want to do now is render this video and hope that it's going to render for a couple of hours. Then I can do something else in the meantime. Because this is also really hard work. I'm not talking about daisies, I'm not talking about butterflies, I'm talking about human trauma, I'm talking about depression, I'm talking about exploiting the earth. These topics are all highly connected with fear, with hatred, with anger, and human suffering in general. Exploitation of nature is like a very heavy topic. We have to talk about this. It's very important. And all I can say is find out how you want to contribute. If you don't have a platform yet, you don't have the time, this is what you can do, right? If you're like a very insecure person, this is what you can do. You can read up on topics that interest you and you can send them to me and I'm gonna do something with it. Right? You won't know what I'm gonna do with it, but when I've done it, I'm gonna send you the link to the video and I'm going to name you in the credits. Thank you for gathering information. And these topics can be basically anything. Like if you want to speak about rape, if you want to speak about depression, if you want to speak about anything at all, you can write. I would like to stick with 5 pages DIN A4 because I also have to have something to work with. Like if you just give me 10 sentences, I cannot really do a lot with that. But if that's all you can do, then rather send me that than nothing and then start working up from that. But I think what really should happen is that you should start making an effort and to start working on something that you find important. And spreading the message and working for nature, I find that very important. So if you want to take this a little bit serious and just do something that fills your heart and gives you the feeling you're contributing to raising awareness and helping others doing what they do, right? It's like we're helping each other. If you would want your own channel, then you can do that. I'm offering this to people who don't really want to go through this and create their own channel. Maybe this is like the approach Russell Brand has, right? I cannot collect all the information that is out there. It's too much. Your expertise is your expertise. Whatever interests you, interests you. Do something with this and speak up about it. You don't have to have perfect writing, but if you write something, I'm going to read that and I will mix this with my own experiences and then just talk about it. I will read it, I will talk about it, and I will make it appealing to my audience. Yeah, so that's just what I would like to tell you. This is also new to me, but just to see what's going to come out of it. Anyway, thanks for listening.